Well, it is just a fact, and this Prime Minister has a track record of not completing what he starts and bragging about what he hasn't done.
I have a question for the Prime Minister. Question directly for Justin Trudeau.
Join us now with the front line with Joe and Joe. Once again, let us go into the brief. Jagmeet is calling out the Prime Minister. Play the clip.
I have a question for the Prime Minister. Question directly for Justin Trudeau. What if it were you being forced out of your home or the community that you love? What if it was your parents or your grandparents? That's what's happening across the country. In BC, residents of Totem Housing Cooperative are right now being forced to pay triple their rent or find somewhere else to live. In London, Ontario, landlords are threatening tenants with eviction. And to make things even worse, they're offering tenants a deal, a so-called deal to get them to move out faster. Is that really what it's come to? Bribing long-term tenants just to move them out sooner so the corporate landlord can replace them with people who can pay more rent? Canadians are dealing with the stress of finding a place they can afford to rent every day, and they're staring down losing their homes entirely. That's how bad it's gotten. And all the while, the Liberals are helping big corporate landlords win. We need to stop that right now. This is what we need to do instead. 1, stop rent evictions. Just stop them. 2, stop letting big corporations buy up all the homes that are cheap to rent and then raising those rents even higher. And 3, lower rents for Canadians. It's your move, Prime Minister. What are you going to do?
So here's the question, Singh. What are you doing about it? You talk out of one side of your mouth and you criticize the Prime Minister, and then you support him. I actually think you guys just kind of like have conference calls and plot out your strategy. Oh, we're not going to form a coalition, says Trudeau. You criticize him, then you support him. Canada, when are we going to see past the nonsense? Mr. Singh, once again, what are you going to do about it? Stop yapping. That's what we say in New Jersey. Stop yapping. Pierre Poilievre asked by a reporter to clarify his comments in the House of Commons when he referred to Trudeau's sudden departure from West Point Grey Academy. Play the clip.
With the Prime Minister in the House of Commons, where you reference his departure from a private school he used to teach at. As you may know, there was lots of rumors about his exit, including what seems to be a completely defamatory story that has no credibility. Why did you raise that in the House of Commons?
Well, it is just a fact, and this Prime Minister has a track record of not completing what he starts and bragging about what he hasn't done. And that has spilled over into his policy positions, whether it's his promises to complete, for example, a Trans Mountain pipeline gone $27 billion over budget, still not done. Claiming he's going to have an electrification economy, bragging about all these mines that he announces but don't actually get completed. Brags about his policy and promises on climate change, but they never actually meet their targets. So with this Prime Minister, there's a lot of bragging about things he plans to do without actually getting them done.
You referenced that story, though. You referenced that particular story, which is...
No, I mentioned the fact that he did depart.
You said that he departed.
Yes.
And you couldn't remember why. So
that's right.
What did you mean by that?
Exactly what I said.
What did you mean by that?
About him, the reason why he left the school?
You have to ask him why he left the school.
I just want to highlight a couple things. Poilievre knows why he made those comments, and so does the reporter. And Poilievre refuses to clarify the comments that he made. This is the type of stuff that turns me off and turns many people off. It's a politician's answer. Answer the question. You were asked something, answer the question. You made a comment, a public comment in the House of Commons, answer the question. And if you're not willing to answer the question, don't make the comment, particularly in the House of the people who elected you. That is a politician's response. He's evading the question, and frankly, it nauseates me. These are the type of things that people have to look for in the people they elect. Do you want a politician or do you want a public servant? Answer the question. It's that simple. And if you're not willing to answer the question, you shouldn't have brought it up. I want you to look at this picture. How does this make sense? How is it not a crime to burn the Canadian flag? How? Why is nationalism looked at as something bad? Why is being proud of your country viewed as something wrong. Now, I am not advocating to burn the rainbow flag. Absolutely not. All people should be respected. No one should be discriminated against. But at the same time, when you look at these two pictures, something is incredibly wrong here. Both things are bad, if you ask me. You should, again, respect all people, respect all people's causes. That's what a democracy is all about. But somehow it's okay and it's not a crime to burn the Canadian flag. Seems to me that we have a double standard here. It seems to me that priorities are being set. It seemed to me that, frankly, nationalism is looked at as something that is wrong or bad. You should be proud to be Canadian. Canada is a great country. It's time to look at it as such. It's time to make Canada great again. Do I sound like Donald Trump? I hope not. Let's make Canada great again. I found this clip. I thought it was interesting. It's a bunch of moms who lost sons. So I'm not making fun at all because that's very serious and very sad. But why I find it interesting is the moms are advocating for distributing narcotics legally on the street to addicts. I find that to be interesting and I disagree with it. But I want to give them some airtime. Play the clip.
We are reluctant experts. We never wanted to be standing here, and we're standing here because our children have died from drug harms. We are advocates for the implementation right now, other things as well, but the implementation of a safe, regulated, legal supply of drugs for people who need them. It doesn't mean standing on the corner and giving out drugs to kids, which has been sort of intimated by the Conservatives. We want to set the record straight. This project will be very highly regulated. People who are addicted, and I'm hoping the public understands addiction as we go along, need to have the drug they're addicted or dependent on. And they have to go out into the black market, which is run by the by gangs, by organized crime. So we are making people who are addicted and dependent go out into that market to get the medicine they need. This isn't how we work in Canada. We help people who have health conditions. You know, drug use is a problem, but it shouldn't be deadly. It should be treated, when people come into the ER, they should be treated with respect. They should be treated with ongoing care and support. They shouldn't be just turfed out the door, which happens everywhere across the land. Our kids died because they didn't have what we are advocating for. They didn't have services. They didn't have harm reduction. They weren't able to get into treatment when they needed it. Dead people can't access those services. So we're here to tell the world, stop the deaths. And we will say that every single day for the rest of our lives, because that's where our grief will be.
Couple comments. My heart goes out to these women. First and foremost, it's a tragedy. Second comment, I don't think that approach works. I sincerely don't. Giving drugs to people who are addicted is putting a Band-Aid on a problem. You have to get to the root of the problem. Why are you taking the drugs? First, you got to get them off the drugs. That's a different story. But at the same time, enabling them in their addiction doesn't help. Clearly, there's an issue as to why they're taking it. And you got to get to the heart of that. To be truthful with you, giving needles to heroin addicts, giving legal drugs to people who are addicted to drugs isn't the answer, moms. I'm sorry. I absolutely disagree with you. While my heart goes out to you, losing a child is a horrible thing. But ultimately, enabling a child to continue in their addiction is not the answer. And that is what's been tried in places like Vancouver. And it does not work. I see it also in New York City with the distribution of marijuana. People are smoking weed at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. That is nothing more than someone who is in pain. And they're basically self-medicating. You're not partying at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. You have to get it to the root reason. Why are you self-medicating? What is the problem? Obviously, the state has to lend a hand. People have to lend a hand. But ultimately, distributing drugs that are illegal legally to addicts, I disagree with you, respectfully. I wanted to throw that out there. It's a different opinion, but I'll tell you what. We have to learn to listen to each other. We have to sometimes agree to disagree civilly. And that is how a democracy works. I was just doing research for the show, and I came across this tweet. This is the caption. It says, "I just saw these cows on a slaughterhouse-bound truck to Ontario. Poor babies don't know where they're headed." Just show the clip for a sec. People are worried about cows. Cows. Meanwhile, Canada is getting slaughtered. You should be worried about people. People are more important than animals. Animals are important. Don't misunderstand me. But at the same time, people are more important. And you're getting slaughtered. You, the Canadian. You should be looking in the mirror and saying, "Oh, look, there's a Canadian, and he's getting slaughtered." Maxime Bernier calls out Danielle Smith. Here's the situation. Danielle tweets out for Pride Month. This is what she said. "Everyone deserves to feel safe, welcome, and respected in our province." She goes on to say, "Every one of us should do what they can to build a province where all people are treated and accepted with love and understanding." Maxime says BS. He says, "Stop the woke nonsense. We're one of the most open and tolerant societies in the world. Gays and lesbians are fine and don't need to be treated like victims." He's calling you out, Danielle. Danielle, you're supposed to be conservative. Stop placating to your people and start speaking hard and fast truths. It's black and white. All people should be respected. No one should be discriminated against. But at the same time, let's not pretend that basically people are victims when in fact they are not. Homosexuals have all the rights that heterosexuals have, and frankly, that does not mean that transgender people should be grooming young children. Yes, dare I say it, they are. They are grooming them. They're trying to normalize a behavior which is not healthy, and frankly, it's not good for anyone, particularly Canada, particularly the minors, and every single person should stand up and say it. That includes you, Danielle Smith, and Maxime is calling you out. Just another day at school in Canada. Play the clip. This is interesting. 4 days when there are some type of pride event in schools in Canada, there's a 40% reduction in children attending that day. That's very interesting. And 2 schools saw a drop in 60% of the attendance. What does that tell you? That tells you that parents are not behind this. You see, this is the story under the story, and that's why you listen to this channel, because the mainstream media will never, ever air that statistic. Parents are not supportive of this. Even some liberal parents do not support this. By the way, even some homosexuals do not support this. The politicians are basically pushing an agenda, and they don't care that the parents are not for it. It's their agenda, and frankly, it has nothing to do with your needs or your wants or the children. It's strictly their agenda, and they're pushing it forward against the wishes of the people. Shocking, but that is the truth, and frankly, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Parents, most parents, do not stand with the liberals or any politician on this issue. It's strictly ideology. It's strictly mainstreamed by the establishment and the people, most of which do not support it.
Hey guys, stay up to date with all of our content at Locals. We post videos and updates not found on this platform. Thank you for your support.